Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 5th, 2023 at approximately 4:14 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the philosophies that I personally guide my life by. Now, these are tools that I personally use and I've shared with thousands of people over the years. With varying levels of success, depending on their own individual efforts. Now, I figured I'd do things a little different today. Because we're going to take a look completely off the normal run and take a look at gaming and literary characters from a different perspective. And I'll show you how, I'll explain how they fit into things. But before I get into that, we have Philip Blair. You are in with the gold today. Adam Lakatos, long time no see. You're in with the silver. And Shadow and Son are in with the bronze. Now, of course, Shadow and Son being the first ones in here with an actual live stream themselves. We take this, pop it in down here, and we go paste that, and this is the link to Shadow and Son's live stream. Give it a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Okay, and then share the daylights out of the thing. Now, here's the issue where it comes to gaming characters. As most of you know, I have been a tabletop gamer since the first Saturday in June of 1976. And I am curious, and I've got the book to do that with. So I'm just going to find out. Just because it's a curiosity thing on my part. I go back here tonight. This is my ephemeris. Astrology tool. But if I go back to 1976, I can figure out exactly what the date was. Where are we here? And we are moving forward. This is how you move through time in a hurry without a real hiccup. June of 76, there we go. The first Saturday would have been June 5th of 1976. Okay, that's your useful piece of information on that for the day. But here's the thing. Whenever we are talking role-playing characters, as in Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons, Space Opera, Traveler, Star Frontiers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've got Aftermath. You've got Warhammer, which I didn't actually play a whole lot of. Of course, I did play Paranoia for a little while. These are all different games. Now, some of these games, the older gamers will recognize, I'm sure of it. Okay, do understand, I have never played online. I've never done an online game. Okay, but here's the thing with gaming. And who do we got? Oh, Chad, you are in with honorable mention. And where are we? This is linked to Chad's live stream. So again, absolutely, give him drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up, then subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. And then we have Steve Knox has come through the door. Why doesn't that surprise me? Oh, I forgot one there. Champions, as well as V&V, Villains and Vigilantes. These are just different games that I played over the years. Now, up until 2018, I was actually a game master. At the end of 2018, I had a stroke, and that completely screwed things up. But I hope everybody's day has gone well. I've spent the morning, like since 4 o'clock this morning, planning out a few things. I got together with my other half, with my executive assistant, and we have the next month laid out. It's adjustable, but the next month of live stream topics is laid out, so I don't have to try and sort that out. And then I spent the next part of the day, I spent working out the next 6 months of the newsletter, which is just annoying me to all get out because of the delay in getting the hard copies out. Okay, so first thing we do here is on this list of things that I have to do is get those done so I can actually ship them off tomorrow. Where are we here? Okay, and Adam is just bringing us up to speed here. Chad, where are we? Adam. So your wife is finally recovering. So this is fantastic news there, Adam. Really happy to hear it. Now, when you're looking at a character, whether we are talking role-playing or Eternity, how you doing? And Joe, sorry, overshot. Joe, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Eternity, nice to see you again. When you're looking at a character, now, any of you that have gamed before, you know you can put a character together in minutes, but it takes a certain something in that character where you actually connect with it. Okay. Now, this is the same whether we are talking role-playing or we are talking writing. Okay, or for that matter, if we're talking to somebody that's a cartoonist, okay, or an artist, you've got to feel something of a connection. For those of you that do not game yet, I will tell you, you're missing out on something. Now, years ago, we had a psychologist sit in on one of our games. Okay, she sat there and just listened for the entire 4 or 5 hours. She sat there and listened, and she goes, this reminds me of the old campfire stories, with one little exception. With campfire story, you sit around the campfire, and again, this goes way back to when people actually did that. We'd sit around the campfire, and somebody would tell stories, right? But with gaming, the game master lays out the world and all the NPCs, and they start telling the story. Then you've got a character that you build, and every character has a part of you in it. Okay, so you roll out, you get an idea on what the character is you're building, and almost invariably, your own personality will come through. Okay, and yes, I am going to go into some of the characters I've actually worked on over the years. Okay, explain why. But, hopefully this makes sense at this point. I know some of you gamers have taken a look at this sort of thing. Now, back in June of 76, the first character I ever built, okay, I rolled up the dice, I rolled up the character, and of course, I'm a tabletop gamer. Okay, and no, I'm not about to go and get all my gaming gear and show you what it looks like. Okay, but we roll up the character stats. Decide what race we wanted. Okay, or in some cases, roll that randomly as well. Rolled up the character stats, and then adjusted the personality for ourselves. My first character I'd never gamed before in my life. So I ended up rolling up a dwarf, specifically a mountain dwarf. Now, I didn't have anywhere near the functional imagination that I have now. So, of course, the guy that was running the game, he goes, okay, well, we need a name for your character. So he opens up the D&D books, and I'm talking the original books. Okay, the ones that came before Gary Gygax. Okay, The one guy's name was Arneson, and the other creator's name was Hardicane. Well, my game master, and I forget what his last name was, doesn't matter. Okay, I do know his first name was Doug. He lived way out in the middle of Black Creek, which is a suburb of Comox, where I grew up. Okay, drove a little orange VW bug. Okay, yeah, I know that doesn't really matter, but Arneson Hardicane was the first dwarf I ever ran, was the first character I ever ran. Well, because of that, in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I have taken that character and put him into the storyline. Now, I played that for a while, and then of course we moved. Then we ended up moving to Kelowna, and I built another character, only this time, like it was playing D&D for a bit. And then I got introduced to Aftermath. Now, Aftermath is post-apocalyptic. And again, I built the character, didn't have any real functional understanding of the game system. So I turned around, built my character, and again ran into an interesting issue with the name. Okay, and the suggestion was made. Okay, the absolute suggestion was made to call him Xavier Zachariah Zelig. Okay, now, because of that, I played him for a few games. Then my eldest brother went to join the game. I wasn't happy with the way Xavier felt. So I took the character, handed it off to my older brother, and I built Jeremiah Wolfstrong. Now, Jeremiah, when I built him, I originally told the game master, I says, this guy is going by one philosophy. Number one, he did not ask for the world to go to heck in a handbasket. But dagged, he was going to have the best of the best. As it turned out, Jeremiah, by the way, is the character that became the backbone of the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Oh, there you go. Shadow's just going, Jeremiah, he was a good friend of mine. Well, Jeremiah Wolfstrom became the character that in time became the lead protagonist in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, in the entire saga. And that gets a whole lot more complicated. But Jeremiah was essentially a pacifist. He could kill you in a number of ways, but his claim to fame was he was a linguist. Now, do I speak as many languages as Jeremiah? No. Okay, I speak bits and pieces of, I was going to say of English. No, I speak English pretty haphazardly, but I speak a little bit of French, a little bit of Spanish, bits and pieces of German, Japanese, Hausa, and and Spanish. Hausa, by the way, is Northern Nigerian trade. Uh-oh. Shaw's just going. He goes, Jeremiah was a good friend of mine, but I never understood a word he said. I've had that problem with myself. But, so I made the decision Jeremiah was going to screw, and I told him, he's going to screw things up every time you turn around. Well, time went on. Jeremiah ended up having a very definitive outlook on life. And he would try and talk his way out of everything. But I remember one day, Jeremiah turned around, and understand, in Aftermath, the system he was built in, the world he was built in, Jeremiah was 6'2". When I moved him into the Yldrbacian Chronicles, I brought him down to 5'8", which, by the way, is my own height. Now, every character, when you build one, you build it inside the game system, whatever it is. and then you do your best. And what happens is part of your personality will go into it. Well, we had so much fun with Aftermath that I decided I was going to put everything into a story. And this is where we came up with the wolf pack. But Jeremiah, in the end, spoke 20 different languages and had 5 methods where he could kill you in a heartbeat. Although getting him to fight could have been a problem on occasion. I remember at one point we had, he was we ended up having a vehicle. We ended up with unwanted boarders. Okay. So they got inside the vehicle we were in. And we trapped them. And of course, Jeremiah was the driver. Okay. And rest assured, he had 2 gears. It was either full throttle or parked. So we had these two prisoners, and I told the guy, we were having trouble getting them to talk, because they were being problematic. So I turned around, I looked over my shoulder, and I said, "Okay, guys, look, you tell us what we want to know, and we'll let you go." Right? Of course, the other character that was in the back of the vehicle was a chap by the name of Blade. He looked at the guy and goes, "You're either going to talk or I'm going to shoot you." Well, the one guy was quick. He goes, "Well, if you shoot me, you're still not going to tell me. You're still not going to tell you anything." Blade goes, "Good point. Tell me what I want to know or I'm going to shoot your friend." So the guy didn't agree and didn't believe him. So Blade shot the second captive. I looked over the shoulder. I said, "Look, Blade's got no sense of ha-ha here. So I'll tell you what. You tell us everything you want to know, and we'll let you go." The guy goes, "Unharmed?" I said, "Absolutely unharmed. You have my word, and we will let you go unharmed." So the guy spilled his guts, told us everything we wanted to know. I looked over my shoulder. Now, bear in mind, we are talking post-apocalyptic. So Jeremiah turns around and he says, "Okay, Blade, let him go. Pop the hatch." Right? So Blade and the game master is sitting there looking at us, and Blade pops the belly hatch. Now you got to remember, the captive is still tied. We're driving we are driving in a Samaritan armored ambulance, which is a tracked vehicle. So we're traveling along at full throttle, and do not ask me what the speed limit on a Samaritan is. Okay, but we're traveling along at full throttle. I said, "Okay, Blade, pop the belly and let him go." So of course the guy says, "Well, you said you were going to let me go unharmed." I says, "You are unharmed, and we are letting you go." As soon as the guy went and dropped through the belly, I pulled a hard left. "Joe, how you doing? Glad you're joining. You're able to join us." The game master just looks at me and goes, "You pull a hard left, you realize that's going to run over him." I says, "Well, yeah, but I did tell him we were going to let him go, and we were going to let him go unharmed. When he left the belly hatch, he wasn't harmed." I says, "And quite frankly, if we had let him alive, he was going to come looking for us." But this was just Jeremiah's way of, shall we say, taking advantage of a complicated situation. But Jeremiah ended up becoming one of the most enjoyable characters I'd run. Okay, and that's just one of them. Most people have a favorite character. Now, Jeremiah, if you've got you've got a copy of The Birth of the Wolf Pack, you'll get to see a lot more as to how Jeremiah actually behaved. Because I took that story, that character, along with the other characters. Every one of the main characters in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, and most of the other characters are there. But every one of the main ones is built by a gamer And it basically takes qualities of the character and qualities of the person and combines them. Okay. Now, Jeremiah was very simple. He talked to anybody, didn't matter. Okay. And he just took everybody as is. In all fairness, this is pretty much the way I am. Yes, I'm reclusive, as in I don't leave my house very much, but I will talk to pretty much everybody available outside of it. Don't get your hopes up. This does not mean I travel well. Okay, so Jeremiah ended up doing a lot of different issues, but he was a lot of fun. And as per usual, Jeremiah got to a point, we got into a hot zone, and we had what we did not, nobody made the connection. Turned out to be a mobile bomb. Okay, that somebody had set on us. Well, it didn't clue in. I stepped back to let this thing walk out the door. Okay, it looked like an inverted garbage can, right? An inverted barbecue. Sorry. And the thing goes to go by me and blows up. Well, the funny part about that whole setup, Jeremiah did die at that point. Okay, there were a lot of other characters that came up afterwards, but because of Jeremiah dying, every game thereafter, I would be talking to the game master, and I would constantly be asking him about bringing Jeremiah back, as in Jeremiah went to St. Peter at the pearly gates, and went, look, I don't belong here. There's been some sort of a serious error. Well, every single game, Jeremiah would go and talk to St. Peter and try and get things turned around. 2 years later, 3 years really, the game continued and our game master continued running it, but I had other characters that had to come in. But eventually, the game master moved away, and then I ended up moving out to his end of the world, and he was running a game out there. They asked if I wanted to join the campaign, and they were playing Aftermath. And so I told the game master, I said, look, I brought the other character with me. I brought Jeremiah with me. And so what the game master did was he took Jeremiah as he is and went, okay, you're now in this world. To the best of my knowledge, Jeremiah is the only character that I've ever heard of that actually in game time talked his way out of being dead. Okay, so it ended up turning around. We ended up turning around. He came in, I gave the game master a list of weapons. And the game master looks at me and goes, yeah, that's perfectly normal if he's only going to the outhouse. Because he was packing an R-26, a Jam 30 millimeter grenade launcher with a 20 bag. If you ever saw the show Dogs of War, okay, that was his grenade launcher. Okay, and then he carried an ancient katana. Okay, now if you take a look at Jeremiah from the Birth of the Wolf Pack, okay. Well, two major factors here. This character up here, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'm not going to drag it down, but this is Jeremiah. The reason he's dressed in black is because there was a neat little type of armor called Hercules, which was armored cloth, ballistic cloth. In other words, bulletproof oversuit. Okay. But this is Jeremiah. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, and I found it kind of comical, and I wonder if I've got it here. No. Not visible anyway. Anyway, Jeremiah, okay, walked around in an old leather duster. Okay, this was supposed to be an AK-47. Apparently, it may not be that, but okay, he's got the katana over his shoulder. Now, thing was, Jeremiah talked his way out of being dead. Okay, in the Yldrbac Chronicles, there's a whole lot that goes on, but he is the primary protagonist. Okay, and I took that character and added him to the story and built everything around that, as well as all the rest of the characters in it. But I told the game master he was going to screw up the game every chance he got. And rest assured he did. He became an interesting endeavor. The reason he ended up driving when they got the Samaritan eventually, when they first got the Samaritan, the first assault they went into, bearing in mind, in Aftermath, when you're rolling to hit, you roll percentile to figure out the location you're hitting. Now, Area 12, which by the way is the groin. Okay, in Aftermath, the percentage range for that was 48 to 53. Okay, and when we had that one attack, 75, the first assault we had with the Samaritan, 75% of the shots with witnesses around the table seeing the dice roll, 75% of the shots went into that 48 to 53 range. Net result, when we got done with the fight, got home, we christened the Samaritan as the Nutbuster Express. Now you get to figure out why it was called that. Okay, and it just carried on. That was just a normal side of things. And rest assured, Jeremiah did end up, like, he would talk his way out of fights, and there was one day, and most of you have characters that really stand out. Jeremiah had this one day where I didn't feel like fighting. I didn't feel like being in a fight at all. So we're in the bar, and these guys try and pick a fight, and Jeremiah looks at him and goes, "No, I just tapped a keg. I'm not drinking. I'm not fighting." And so one of the NPCs come over and went, "Jeremiah, your friends are in a fight. They're getting the heck beaten out of them." Jeremiah puts his drink down, looks over and goes, "Hey, it's only 3-1 odds. They'll be fine." Right. So the fight went on, and here I am sitting there drinking, working on a keg with Tanya, one of the other protagonists. Okay. And we're sitting there drinking. Well, this other, the game master was trying to draw us into the fight. And so he comes over, and one of the assailants takes a poke at Jeremiah. Hit him once in the throat, once in the groin, and then because of a critical hit and his skill, did a vertical karate chop to the top of the guy's head, doing 54 points of damage. So of course he brought the strike all the way down to the eyeballs. Right, put his hand on the forehead, he pulls his hand out and goes like this. It's like, "You scratch." Well, he goes, "You scratched my paint." And, because he'd only just got the helmet done. And he stands up, hits the guy once in the throat, once in the groin, and then splits his head open with his hand. Right? Shakes the brains off the edge of his hand, looks at the whole thing, and sits back down, grabs his beer, and carries on. Game master quit trying to draw me into the fight. But it did send a ricochet warning around the local world. Now, this is just one of the characters I've run, but this is, like I said, this is the backbone. This is where you get this chap, where the first chapter of the Yldrbac Chronicles, there's a little bit, as you can well imagine, in a bar. There's a little bit of a conflict going on, right? In chapter 2, though, Jeremiah gets attacked. 10-1 odds, 7 dead, 2 badly wounded, and 1 gets away okay. Jeremiah is the pacifist in the party. Now, when Jeremiah ended up retiring, because, well, frankly, I moved back home, and the game died. So Jeremiah was still living in a post-apocalyptic world, but I could no longer run him because we didn't have a game to run with. After he was put to rest permanently, well, realistically, between them, we had Thunderpaws. Now, you'll find Thunderpaws in the Yldrbacian Chronicles as well. But we have to understand something with Aftermath. And those of you that know Aftermath, okay, understand this all too well. The average person has 10 in their attributes. Okay, the maximum, and so if you take an average 10 strength, and you take maximum strength of 40, 40 would be akin to Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Okay, Thunderpaws was only 13 years old and had a strength of 60. Sorry, by the time he got to 14, he had 60. Okay, but he also had a wit and will, aka his brain was a 5. He did not put 2 and 2 together well. Okay, but he was a lot of fun to play. Okay, and I mean, in one case, now you gotta understand, Thunderpaws, his body was 6'2" at 13, but his hands were 16 inches from finger to thumb, which really puts it about that far. That was the breadth of his hand. This is why he was called Thunderpaws. And it certainly didn't have to do with his intellect. That was a little limited. Okay, but when you're building a character, you always put part of you into it. Any of you that are gamers, any of you that are literary artists, as in authors, or you're striving to paint something, you always see it through the creator's eyes, through your own eyes. Thing with characters is you usually do your best to put an aspect of you in it that you don't have. Jeremiah could kill somebody in a heartbeat. I don't like losing my temper at all. So these are just things when you're looking at a gaming character, whether we are talking tabletop gaming or we are talking about online, you're still going to put some of your personality into it. And this is especially true when you're writing stories. Okay, write something and writing it, I almost wrote it from first person, and that became entertaining. So when you're looking at that, like I said, Thunderpaws was another character I ran. He too ended up in here. Okay, actually, I'm not entirely certain if Thunderpaws did end up in here. He may have ended up right at the end of book 12 of the 10th book here. I'm just scanning to see. Yeah, I'm not going to try and deal with that side of it too much. I'd have to call it up and take a look that way. But when you're building a character and understand, we are talking your imagination. So there's nothing wrong with putting yourself in that position. At least not that I've ever seen. What we have to look at is, why do people game? Why is this something that is appealing to people all the way from 8 to 80? Okay. The youngest I've played with is about a 7 or 8 year old. Okay. I have played with people when I was in my 40s. I was playing with a couple of people that were well over 70. Okay. At this point, I doubt very much they're still breathing. I think that might have to do with age. But you build a character to put yourself, as it were, the hero. Okay, very few people actually go out of their way to build a villain. What I did find myself, I don't play a chaotic evil character very well. Chaotic, a neutral evil or just a bit of a chaotic tendency, or like as in chaotic neutral, I can work with. Chaotic evil, certainly not. I don't have a problem writing about them, but it's a very different thing for me when I'm writing that is when I'm actually playing a character. So what I ended up doing, and what you'll end up doing if you're a gamer, you understand the idea of I've got to get a feel for the character. Okay, I've got to get something that makes sense, that adds up for me, that I can connect with. Pretty much any gamer will, I'm pretty certain, tell you the same thing. If you cannot connect with that character, it's going to end up dying because you won't be able to anticipate what it's doing properly. At least I never could. Now, I'm not perfect by any functional stretch. Okay, but in the Yldrbac Chronicles, we've got Jeremiah, who's the character I built. Blade is a big black man. Now, do understand, somebody's gonna say, "Oh, you're making him stereotypical because he's big and strong." No, he was black, yes. The guy that built him was close to 6 feet tall, and dang near 300 pounds of almost solid muscle. Okay. And, this guy, Blade had a very simple philosophy. It was never a question, was there going to be a fight? In contrast to Jeremiah, who would talk his way out of anything, Blade went looking for fights. And his claim to fame, he got into a fight one day, he got challenged one day, and he looks at the guy and goes, "Well, it's a good day for you to die." Not this idea of it's a good day to die, it's a good day for everybody else to. But, so you had Blade, very definitely, he was ex-military, volatile from a young age. Okay, then you got Tanya. Okay, and I should have done this when I was talking about Blade here. Where's my book? Here it is. If we take a look at what, I'm going to fall down here and that's going to hurt. We have here on the back of the Birth of the Wolf Pack, you have Jeremiah. Okay. And I'll show you this one here, because this here shows you Blade. Okay. And yes, as you can well imagine, he was called Blade because of his penchant for using knives. Then we have Tanya Jan Scott. Okay. Hillbilly with an attitude. Now, you got to understand something about the lady that built this woman. Okay. She was a hillbilly herself. She had a stalker at one point, and she literally opened fire on him. Didn't hit him, but she hit close enough to make him go away and not come back. But Tanya was absolutely, she packed around, in the end, she ended up packing around, Nathan, how you doing? She packed around twin 44 Silverado mags. And boy, was she a deadly shot with them. That, plus she carried a sawtooth machete. And Nathan, where are we? This is the link to Nathan's live stream. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. Okay, do give him a listen. If you like what he said, what he's got to offer, do give him a thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Now, Tanya is a hillbilly. Okay, very rough and tumble, very straightforward. Okay, there's one scene she gets into one heck of a fight. I don't even have a Twitch account right now, Philip. This is one of those things that I'm going to be looking into. I've actually got it on my list of things to do. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Okay, I'm just starting to look into how to stream simultaneously, but I don't even know how to stream on Facebook right now. But I will be getting an account on TikTok. Where are we? I will see what I can do about an account on Twitch, assuming you can get to it off the computer. Okay, I never even thought about Twitch in all honesty. I've heard about TikTok, Mastodon, Pinterest. These are different sites I will be putting onto, but not all of it will be for streaming. Okay, apparently I might be able to get it onto Mastodon as well. But I don't know much about Twitch. I will be looking into that to see if I can get into that side of it. But that does remind me of something, which I'll get to in a little bit. So that's what do we got here? Philip goes, yeah, people simultaneously stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, specifically these three. As soon as I can figure out how to do that, because one of the things I'm going to be doing is updating my profile on the three I've already got, and then looking into getting other accounts open. I have come to the conclusion I've got to go widespread on the social media. Okay, but I've got, now let me ask you this, guys. I mean, we're doing this right now, and what the heck is today? I think today is, what is the date today? Not date, rather, but day. I think are we on a Tuesday or Wednesday today? Or is it a Monday? It's a Tuesday. Gives you an idea how my day goes. Oh, that's okay. Now, I think that's not a bad move. Let me ask you this, guys. Okay, I've been gaming for a lot of years. I think. I don't know, 76 to now. Okay, I'm thinking that I can absolutely take one day of the week. Frankly, in this case, shift it over to Tuesday itself and turn that into a day to discuss gaming and some of what goes on there. But I will leave that in your guys' hands for the moment and see what kind of a response I get to that idea. Because I've got 7 days out of the week, 2 of which are already designated, one for alien stuff, one for paranormal. Would you guys like one set up for gaming? And I am talking about discussing the options, not live streaming a game. I'm just not going to be doing that. But that's your guys' call. Now, we have, like I said, you've got Tanya here, who is a hillbilly with an attitude. There's one scene in the Return to Paradise, which is the book I'm writing right now, where she actually, and it was weird. I wrote the scene, and something hit me funny. Okay, and I couldn't have done that. Went back over, I left the scene in there. But she hit the guy and she hits the guy's head so hard on the table, she splits his brain open. Then she cut him in half with the machete. After he was already deceased. But these things happen. Oh, Phil's just going, today I learned that Twitch is all kinds of stuff, not just game streaming. Someone mentioned Twitch for interesting old stories. And this is something I'll be looking at, because it really boils down to this. There are a lot of different genres that I work in. Okay. Like we take a look at this. Now, Tanya was built by another gamer, as was this chap, Wilhelm Schunter. Now, the funny thing with Wilhelm, the guy himself that built it was the son of a lawyer. Wilhelm was an assassin. Okay. And he was absolutely deadly. Okay. But he was walking away from his old life, which is how he got to the Wolfpack in the first place. That's a long story in itself. But Wilhelm was very much a sniper. Okay, and preferred the long-range strikes. Then we have, I mentioned Blade in brief. Blade here grew up on the street. Okay, Dirk Waterstone came from high society, but these two became inseparable. The neat part about it was in real life, these two were virtually inseparable. Okay, but Blade grew up on the street, became a military specialist. Dirk was high society and became a specialist as well in a different field, a different military branch. Oh, by the way, Jeremiah was ex-military. Okay, Tanya grew up on the street. She was just volatile. Now, the two you don't see here are Ozzy, who is, Ozzy is he was a senior citizen. When he was playing, he was 66 already, but very much a grandfather type. Grandfather type carrying a custom-made 460 Magnum carbine length barrel. Okay. And again, always took into consideration the kids that were around, that sort of thing. Okay. And then you had Mickey. Now, Mickey was ex-military, but Mickey is the one character that you wonder whether he actually figured out there was a war. Okay. Always having a riot of a time. These were all built by different characters. Now, understand, myself, I've never dealt with the criminal system at all, to the point that I've never, even though I've sped, I've never even gotten a speeding ticket. Okay, and yet, Mickey, Ozzy, Tanya, all had run-ins with the law. All of them had records. Okay, so from that, now, the other side is myself, I travel very little. The guy that built Dirk would travel all over the world on a whim. Okay, it's like, I'm going to Japan for a while. The guy that built him actually ended up becoming a bit of a rock star over in Europe. Not quite. He called his character Mickey Finn. Okay, and I mean, if you think, he called him Mickey Finn. The guy that built him was usually with drink in hand. In all fairness, at the time I built Jeremiah, I was killing a 26er a night. Okay, unbeknownst to the gaming crew, they all thought that I drank a little, just not very much. What really threw them for a loop is they also thought I didn't do drugs. At the time, I was doing a minimum of 6 a night. 6 lines a night. We're just not going to count the amount of weed. Okay, but what I've decided to do, and this is why one of the reasons I've got this list here for things I've got to get done. Okay, but that's the 7 mainline characters in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, the 7 protagonists. There's a number of other people there. But there is actually a gaming crew that is brought into the picture that are actually, after the world goes to heck in a handbasket, there is a full-size gaming crew that is literally playing Dungeons and Dragons while the world has gone to heck in a handbasket. Okay. I missed something. Doesn't which cause insomnia? Oh, you're thinking cocaine. For me, I have no idea. I wasn't sleeping before. It didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference afterward. Okay. And it certainly, for me, didn't do a thing to my mood. I was always that way. I'd be partying until before I even got into the cocaine. I was already staying up until midnight, 1 o'clock, and then back up and on the go by 5 o'clock in the morning anyway. So when I started on the cocaine, I never noticed a change. Okay, I have heard for some people, it does have that kind of an effect. It can also apparently change moods. In my case, my mood never changed. The only thing alcohol ever did to me was screw up my ability to walk a straight line, which, by the way, isn't really a strong suit of mine now either. My sons and I joke about it that I actually will almost bounce off the walls walking down my hallway. Now, understand, the hallway is only like 3.5 feet wide, and I still can't walk a straight line. And no, I do not drink anywhere near that anymore. So you've got those characters there. If it didn't make a difference, wasn't it just a money hole? Well, that would actually be a yes. Here's the reason it wasn't just a money hole. There were two reasons involved. I got into alcohol and drugs to get a 100% stranger out of the alcohol and drug world. 100%, I didn't know her when I met her. Didn't ever end up in dating her, as it were. Okay. But my getting into that world enabled me to guide her back out of it. And the day she quit drinking, and drugs, I stopped both cold turkey. I've never gone back to drugs. Okay. And I drink, it used to be a 26er a night. Now it's a 26er a decade. If I've got help. Okay. And I've shown you this. I've just never said it before. This bottle. Okay. This bottle I actually got in 2017. Here we are, 2023. I've got 2 kids that have helped me with this. Well, more to the point, 1 kid and one adult that have helped me with this over the last 6 years now to get that far through it. Now, I'd kill one of these tonight without blinking. Yes, this is Crown Royal, in case you don't recognize it. By the way, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing that Jeremiah drank. He always drank pre-ruined rye. Only he drank pre-ruined rye neat. In my eyes, in all fairness, Philip, it really, she was. Okay. But was that part of the equation? No. It's just when I went into the bar, okay, I got in there. Everybody told me how exciting bars were, and I was not a drinker. But this one Friday night, I was bored as heck, and I happened to be living downtown, so I walked into this one bar. Thankfully, in my eyes, it was absolutely dead in the air, right? JCL, how you doing? Now, Jeremiah is the character I built for Aftermath. Okay, his name is actually Jeremiah Wolfstrand. Okay, he does have a middle name that came into play later. When I built him, he was Jeremiah Wolfstrand, but because of the way the character evolved, he ended up with the full name Jeremiah Geronel Wolfstrand, because he ended up absorbing a personality, and that was a long drawn out situation. He ended up absorbing the personality of a real nasty little alien. Okay, long story behind that one. But Jeremiah was the one character. He lasted 2 years before I had to retire him. Okay, but absolutely a riot to run. But no, as far as the girl in the bar went, okay, no, like she was a decent looking kid, absolutely. But that wasn't the reason I got involved in drawing her out of it. I heard, and I don't know if she ever asked or if I just simply picked it up. Okay, but what I heard her say was she had a severe drug and alcohol problem, and she really wanted out of that line. Phil's going, Jeremiah Wolfrog. No, no, no. Jeremiah Wolfstrong. Let me do it this way. Absolutely, Shadow. Do enjoy your game there. This is the character we are talking about. Okay. So when I went into the bar, you know, when I went into the bar, I heard this. Well, I turned around. My parents had always told me you cannot assess somebody's life if you've never walked a mile in their shoes. Well, totally illogical. I got into the drug and alcohol world, and then I pulled out. Okay, when I got her out of it, I quit. When I met her, she didn't have two nickels to rub together. When I got done with her and got her pulled out of there, it was a case that she was off the drugs, off the alcohol, half owner of a house, and engaged to be married. Okay. But that's a whole different world. Okay. Where it came to this, what I did when I started writing the Birth of the Wolf Pack is what our crew called themselves. I don't usually try and wear women's shoes. I mean, my outlook is this: my feet require literally. I've got to be in a 2-inch heel. If I'm not, my knee goes the wrong direction. But Jeremiah very much became a protector of a lot of people. Kind of along the same lines. I mean, I am not physically volatile by any functional stretch. World, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And here we have, as has become just a normal thing for me. This is the link to World's live stream. Okay, absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And then share the daylights out of it. Now, where it came to the way that characters run for me, I always end up building, for some reason I asked the game master friend of mine, I says, what is it nowadays? Every time I build a character, I'm building a flaming empire. And the guy turns around, the game master looks at me and goes, drive? Okay, even with my newest character, he is in the middle of building an empire. He's just taking over. Same thing I'm looking at this point. Oh, it sits in my closet. This was actually a gift to me from my son for Christmas, I think 2 years ago now. Because like I've told them, and they know, I don't have a lot of tolerance for stupidity. Okay, but there it is. My people skills are just fine. It's my tolerance for idiots that needs work. And I just don't tolerate them much. Yeah, I was quite happy about that, JCL. Dave actually called and contacted me before he headed out on holidays, asking if it was okay if we shifted. I'm like, yeah, I don't see a big problem with it. From my standpoint, so yeah, we are this coming Friday. We'll be on again with Dave. So what I'm doing now, okay, with the Yldrbac Chronicles, I'm going through the whole 9 yards. This particular book is being edited heavily Okay, as far as punctuation and what have you goes. So if you've already got one of these, okay, you're never going to see it at this style again. I mean, you'll see the same book, but I'm going through a severe edit on it to correct a number of things, most of which were missed. I've actually, yeah, unfortunately, I built Hobbit characters before. You know, my current character happens to be human, but the way I rolled him up, he's only 3'6". You know, I built Hobbit characters, but they have the same problem. They have a tendency of getting a little carried away at this point. JCL, I do appreciate that. I will give Dave a call. Well, he's home. He should be home now, so I will drop him a line. Actually, I should do that. I can actually do that while I'm here. Because I just have to make sure I schedule things right on my end. Where did we go? Bring that up. Not there. There. Let us drop Dave a line. That would be an idea. What do you think? Let's try it this way. We do this. Just drop that there. And he was active. Oh, okay. Just dealing with this while I'm thinking about it. I have to sort of concentrate because my left hand doesn't work as well as I like to. It doesn't like to work well. Hey, I've got that question in for him. Let's see. No, I appreciate that, JCL. I've just dropped Dave a note, and asked him. I says, welcome back, Dave. Curiosity, are we going live with the ET Connection on Friday the 8th or Saturday the 9th? Either one's fine by me. It really doesn't matter. And Philip's asking, have you ever built an undersea empire? Actually, in all fairness, the campaigns I've played, we've never actually played in an underwater environment. Okay, in real life, as in past lives, I do hate the hiccups. They are painful as heck. I have spent time living under the water, but in gaming, we've never actually run an underwater campaign, which, by the way, ain't entirely a bad idea. I did, however, run a character that had a waterborne empire. He was actually a dwarf, and of all the silly things for the dwarf to do, he became a sea pirate. When he ended up out in the ocean the first time, somebody asked him, "What of all things brings you out onto the into the open water?" And now this was Shadowhammer, who started off as a first level character and worked his way all the way up to becoming a god before he retired. And Shadowhammer looks at the captain of the ship. When the captain asked him what brought him out on the ocean, Shadowhammer looks at them and looks at the guy and goes, "They stole my kender." And of course, the captain goes, "How can somebody steal your kender?" right? And I mean, from there it got really odd. But Shadowhammer was an interesting character. Had a riot playing him. But then when you connect, if you're a gamer, you know if you connect with a solid, if you connect with your character properly, you're going to end up developing a real neat connection with them. Oh, I did forget one game system I used to play, which was Vampire the Masquerade. And in that game, I played a Bruja. Yeah, no doubt there, Philip. Because I'll tell you, for me, I've got, in somewhere in my system, I really don't know where, but I've got a valve, and it feels like it's right down here. That when I hiccup, it tries to go both directions at the same time. That valve is only designed to go one direction, period, which is why it hurts like the dickens when it goes that way. You know, I did try, like, sorry, who was it that asked earlier? Philip, yeah, Philip suggested I build a Hobbit character. I did actually play a Kinder for a while. A lot of work and not quite as much freedom as you might think. At least not the way we were running it. Okay, but now what I'm doing is I'm looking at getting also Kender. That's right. Whoop, typed that in the wrong place. Don't know where it went. Oh, in answer to what a Kender is, basically they are half Hobbit, half Halfling, half Drow. Okay, and realistically, picture a Halfling thief that's also a kleptomaniac. You know, right now the human I've got. Yeah, world's just saying in my campaign world, hobbits don't even exist. There are a couple of enclaves of gnomes, though. Gnomes can be a lot of fun. I have played a gnome before. I think one of I ended up playing. I've played a couple of characters that made really bad, non-thinking moves. I remember one, and he was a halfling. Okay, but he made a really bad move. He's out and about, ends up facing a dragon, and just as the dragon's inhaling to hit him with fire, I never even thought about it. I went throw sneezing powder in the dragon's face. This was a bad idea. Semper Fi there, Black Dragon. This was really a bad idea because the poor little hobbit and the poor little halfling was gone. You know, so I mean, you name the campaign, I've probably been in one like it. For the most part, because like I said, built again. I played in Traveler. I even had a human from that was transported from modern day to the past. You know, to a D&D style world, right? But every character you build takes on some part of you. Every one of the characters in these books, almost every one of them, they are based. When I first wrote it, I tried pulling that dragnet thing. Any similarity between real people and or events is purely coincidental. And I went into it and went, no, any similarity, and I think I might have actually written it in the book. Let me just double check. Nope. Yeah, it's not going to show up easily for me, is it? Probably not. Might be written in the back. Oh, there we go. The notice I put in the front. Some of the characters in this book are based on personas created by gamers I have had the pleasure of gaming with over the years. It is with great appreciation that I bring these characters to a simulation of life and immortality through the adventures contained within the following pages. Many of the other characters and events encountered within these pages are loosely based on real people I have personally met and situations I have experienced over the years. I feel this has allowed for greater realism and depth to the story itself while paying homage to the people included therein. And there's a lot of people, and most of the people I can actually tell you who the person was that they were based upon. The one clear example of a character I have no idea where he came from, okay, was, the one clear character. I've got a character by the name of Thunder Sawgrass. I have no idea where he came from. I have no idea how he got into the story, but just about everybody seems to know him. And talk about short-sighted. But he's a riot to write. Absolutely no fear. This guy just wanders around. There's a battle going on. He's wandering about doing his own thing. At one point, he ends up with a handful of keys and he ends up pulling the pins on a bunch of grenades and walking off with the keys. Hands them to somebody else and goes, "What these for?" Puts them in the guy's hand and walks off. Oh, okay. That was Vampire the Masquerade. Yeah. Tremors were rather enjoyable. Myself, like I said, I only played Vampire Masquerade for a little while. And in it I played a Bruja. Something about they don't follow a lot of rules, they don't pay a lot of attention to protocol, which seems to be a big issue on my end. I don't understand. I mean, I seem to have a little bit of a hiccup with that. But if you're gaming, anytime you're writing a story, you're playing a character, it's easier to relate if you put a part of yourself in it. I find where it comes to stories, the more connected you can get to a character in a story, the more you look for that character and the more you'll stay connected. Okay, there are characters throughout the Yldrbacian Chronicles that will show up in one book and then a few books later will show up depending on what's going on. And this is just something, the one thing I will tell you, where it comes to writing a character into a storyline, the more senses you can draw in, the stronger that image, even when you're building a character for gaming, the more you can relate to that character and the more all-encompassing the image is, be it his height and weight, his clothing, his personality, like his mannerisms, the more things you can get that you can draw on, the more connected and the more attached to that character you're going to get. Okay, which by the way makes it far more interesting, not only for yourself as a gamer or as an author, but far more interesting as the other players go, because they've got something else to lock into. Okay, by the way, the same thing applies to people that are artists. Okay, the more senses that you can draw into in a painting, either through the imagery of the stance or the background imagery that you're dealing with, the better off you are. Okay, and yes, right now I've got 3 artists I work with. I am going to end up looking for more. What do we got here? Did I miss a Joe coming in? I don't think so, but it's always possible. I'm just scanning back up here. That's Joe Stewart. Oh, yeah, I think Joe Monk is in here too, if I remember correctly. Yo, the nice part about it, yo, people talk about what we got. Yeah, World's going, I got to help a referee who was running a traveler campaign which had gone out of control. That can be a problem. You know, so I had to play the part of Boba Fett, of the Boba Fett style assassin to delete them. Yep, no doubt. Philip goes, I had a psychologist analyze me for several hours, then describe me with one word. The word was esoteric. In other words, the person didn't have a clue what they were dealing with. I don't think anyway. Give me 10 seconds because I just want to make sure I don't put my foot right in my mouth. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would fit. Yeah. And I understand that all too well. you know, yeah, I just called up. I can do that now, which is really a weird setup. Yeah. Again, a gaming character that is esoteric would, in D&D terms, be best classified as chaotic neutral. Somebody that will, on a flip of a coin, do something odd. Okay. A Kender is a primary example of a character that would be classified esoteric, because the literal definition says intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with specialized knowledge or interest. And that would sum a Kender up in a heartbeat. Okay. I've been described as a lot of things, and that one, although they haven't described me that way, does fit. Nicely done there, world. Here he goes. I played a character based on the Boba Fett style character. 5 characters, 3 starships, got them all. See, in Traveler, I played a chap. When he mustered out, he ended up with a ship. Only when we first went to take off, we had to get off the base in a hurry. And we had just loaded up a cargo for resale. Right, we mustered out at the first game. We got into trouble, so we got off the ship in a hurry. But just as we broke orbit, now you got to remember, and World, in your case, I'm sure you really remember this. With Traveler, you only jumped 1, maybe 2 parsecs. That was it. Okay, when you were using a hyperjump drive. Well, we were just breaking orbit, and one of the military's one of their battleships was there and was opening fire with a meson cannon. So we went to warp, and we jumped just as we broke orbit. Okay, and when we jumped, we ended up jumping 26 parsecs, blew the engine, but we ended up jumping 26 parsecs away. And then we decided, okay, how do we make money? So we ended up going, okay, 15,000 credits, and we will take you and your gear, no questions asked, to the nearest active starbase. Okay, 15,000 credits. That's what it was, right? On one case, we made the jump, and the closest starbase was an E-class starbase. So we stopped there and said, okay, everybody off. And they're all going, but this is an E-class. Doesn't matter. Contract said 15 grand, the nearest active starbase. An E-class starbase was basically a bus stop with an oxygen tent. Right. Well, they weren't happy. So they paid another 15 grand. We were doing really good. Right. And this one guy, we're in the middle of the flight. And this one guy goes, Captain, what is the secret of your success? You guys are doing a killing out here. What's your secret? We looked at the guy and went, unrefined fuel inside a gravity well. World goes, I sabotaged one ship to explode, and they tried to leave when they tried to leave the launch area. Second one was set to explode when they tried to jump with it. I was on the third one with the other character. I'm guessing you didn't survive that one. See, our first jump was just as we broke orbit. The second time we jumped to warp, we went to warp inside the hangar, or more to the point, just to the doorway to the hangar on the ground. Tore the atmosphere right off the planet and got banned out of the sector. I kind of like the way you do it there, but then I'm a little twisted. MM9, how you doing? Glad you could join us. See, I had hippie hair until, where are we, 23? Guess it would have been, I was still doing that. Just trying to think here. Well, back in 2021, when I started doing this stream, I still had, my hair was all the way down to here. Okay. Since then, obviously it's a little shorter. Hopefully your day has been going well there, MM. But no, I've had a lot of fun over the years. Now you gotta remember, oh no, I twist and shout every time I stand up and my leg goes the wrong direction. See, I like it when my characters survive, but the worst day I had, I went through 7 D&D characters in one night. Because I built them and because they were low grade, they'd end up dead. Right. But, I usually build mine with the idea I'm going to see if they'll live long enough. And then we find out what happens. But I like having a handle on the character first. Sometimes the characters don't work out well because they'll do something stupid, or I'll do something stupid, or just a bad roll. Okay, I did find out one thing. Never become gaseous form in the middle of an in-running stream of water. This is just not going to work well. But I think one of the funnest characters I ran was actually a halfling. We were going through a dungeon, and I listened at the door. He was a halfling thief. I listened to the door, and I hear this breathing on the other side of it. But it was right at my level. So I really quickly, and I didn't warn the game master, I really quickly yanked the door open, gave the guy a wet willy, and pushed the door closed again. Game master just completely lost it for about 15 minutes. Couldn't even think straight after that. But no, the reality of it is when you're building a character, when I'm building a character, I like having an idea of what is driving him. Okay. And this is the same when I'm writing. Most of the characters I've got in the in the Yldrbac Chronicles have a definitive background to them. I know where they come from. I know what's driving them. And it becomes really enjoyable even trying to track them while I'm writing them. One of the things I'll be working on tonight, we'll be working on solidifying the compendium starting with the birth of the wolf pack. So that the first time anybody shows up, it's written in there. This is just one of the things you have to remember when you're dealing with gaming. Is it's a well, Philip, not really. I mean, it's perfectly in game. Okay, all I did was I yanked the door open. I'm presuming you know what a wet willy is. Well, the character was just one. He was chaotic good to start with, right? Either chaotic good or chaotic neutral. It was just a whim. I did find getting too attached to a character, emotionally speaking, wasn't a good idea. Okay, there are characters that I've had that I've gone, I just can't get a handle on it. I remember running one character, I ran him for a game and decided like that. I tried running a chaotic evil character. This was a categorical disaster because I finished the game off the first night. I did a good job of playing him, I thought. But the first night that I played him, we closed down the game. I went to bed. I literally had nightmares for the next 3 nights. So of course, when the next game came around, I looked at the game after and went, "I'm not playing this character. I'm just ending it." Decided that playing a chaotic evil character isn't going to work for me. Now, in the Yldrbacian Chronicles, the main antagonist would be what you would call lawful evil. He's not chaotic by any stretch, but he is a bit of a dip. What do we got here? So, I mean, when you're looking at gaming, I had a character that played in Star Frontiers, and he was both a laser specialist. Derek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You're looking a little green there, Derek. I had a character in Star Frontiers by the name of Chinteo Lenti. I forget the race. Of course, I forget the races from from Star Frontiers. I do remember he was, however, he was a laser specialist and he was a laser specialist, a medic, and a demolitions expert. So he went and took out the helicopter pilot, punched a hole through the front window of the helicopter with a laser rifle, goes down. The guy survived. So when I got down to the helicopter, I patched the guy up, right? Put him all back together. He's still in the helicopter. Spent a couple hours repairing the deck on the helicopter. And then the game master goes, "You do know you can't fly that thing." I went, "Oh, forgot about that." Grabbed a whole wad of explosive, basically C4, stuck it under the dash, and set it off. And set the timer on and walked off. Left the guy and the pilot sitting there. The game master looks at me and goes, "You left the pilot behind." I says, "Yeah, but I didn't have a use for the pilot." Now, Phil's asking, lawful evil, is he a defense contractor on Wall Street? No, I do not deal with that side of it. No, Yldrbac happens to be a spirit that is, to say the least, conquest oriented. Okay, very evil, but very organized. So from that standpoint, like when you first run in, you'll get to actually meet Yldrbac, not in the Return to Paradise, but the next book that's already half written, by the way, which is literally called Where It All Began. And that's where you run into Yldrbac to start with. And in his case, he is very much, everybody is going, yeah, okay, I'll lead a group. Yldrbac goes, I will command the remnant of this host. Right? The guy wants to dominate the surface world. And it doesn't exactly work out the way he'd like. Not to start with, anyway. I mean, there is a period where he's doing quite well with it, and then it all backfires. But then you don't have, see, I find it simple. Yes, you've got evil people in the world. But I'm also a firm believer that you get enough people of a good nature, even in the most trying of times, you can turn the world around. Right now, and this is all, for me, this is all connected. I'm looking at the way the world is right now, going, we are being led down a very dark path with a lot of people telling us that the world's going to die, we're all going to end up miserable, etc., etc. Right? I'm still a firm believer that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But it is going to take effort. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I took the time to ensure that I got everything organized. Now, where is my sheet of paper? Is it this one? No. What did I do with that thing I had? Oh, that's live. Yeah, that's live stream. Haven't copied it down there, but where are we here? Well, I know I'm getting right close to the end. I'll be right back, but somebody has developed a bit of a inconsistency here. So I'll be right back momentarily, guys. No, so what I've been trying to do here is, get things organized so we can actually stay. Where do we got here? Yeah. World goes, the road to Avernus is paved with good intentions. That's why I like this shirt of mine. Pretty much says it all. And I know you guys have seen this one before. Let's see if I can find it. It's more to the point. Not that one, not that one. Here we are. See, this is the other one I know you guys have seen. Chaotic good. Good intentions, questionable methods. My methods are definitively a little unorthodox on occasion. But the idea is well enough aligned. The thing is, from my standpoint, I think I fit more under, and I'm not entirely certain, but I'm pretty convinced that I follow more along the lines of, I don't know if it's neutral good with lawful tendencies or what the story is. I mean, me personally, I do believe that laws are necessary, but laws have to be applicable to everybody, not based on what their salary or their position is. If you're making a law, it's got to fit with everybody. Otherwise, you have a problem. So usually I end up with characters that'll know what the law is, may turn a blind eye if there isn't something serious going on, except for with their own friends. A lot of people have asked me, am I interested or am I willing to, to run to play online? And honestly, I really haven't found a time that fits. Am I open to it to a degree? Yes. But there is still something very definitively, very definite difference in feeling between playing online, or playing around the table. Okay, my personal opinion, and this is probably why 50 years after starting, well, actually more than that. No, 47, I think. I have no idea there, Philip. The reality is I don't understand the online stuff very well. Right now, I don't play on open world. The only game I play on the computer right now is Skyrim. Okay, my hands don't react well enough for any of the other ones. As far as the actual games, I don't know. Well, that's true. You can. The thing I find with that though is, and I always felt that it was applicable for a game master to cheat their die rolls. Absolutely, because sometimes you have to if you don't want to just outright kill the characters. Sometimes the game master may go, no, I'm just not having that character die. But that is a different approach. Oh. I find game masters, of course, game masters are God. Just got it there, Derek, and I will send it as soon as I close the stream. As soon as I get done here, which is where are we? About 15, 20 minutes. I will send it back to you. But I find the game masters, of course, when I learned the game, it was real simple. Okay, the whole setup was real simple. We had 2 laws posted right above the game master's table, right above their chair. Okay, and that was rule number 1: game master is God. Rule number 2: if you have any questions, see rule number 1. And the game masters we had were phenomenal, because somebody would pull out the book and go, but it says right here in the book, this is what the rule is. And the game master, especially with new players, would take a look at the guy and go, the rule is what I said. But no, it says in the book this. Okay, the rule says this. You're now deceased. Build a new character. And the reason for that was to cut down on the annoyance. Yeah, it would seem you did, because the message that came through was, this is Derek Galloway. Okay. So, yeah, I could read off the number, but I'm just not going to do that. That is the rule. I get into a bit of a conflict with one of our gamers, because the game master will make a call and the guy will go straight to the rule books and go, but it says right here. And I will constantly tell him, look, that's God. I mean, let me introduce you to somebody. Meet God. He says it, the book no longer matters. Well, I just want to know we're on the same page. Same page. He's God. problem solved. You know, and this is just the reality. In my opinion, that's just the way you run it. Have I been playing with the idea? I was asked the other day, somebody online here asked if I was going to build a where are we here? Yeah. Somebody asked if I was going to build one of those interactive books. I decided the answer is yes. Yeah, you noticed that too, World. We took that to heart. Of course, you and I come from the same idea. When I started gaming, there was one hard copy book. Everything else was soft copy. I think the only one that was hardcover rather. The only one that was hardcover, I think, was the DMG. Everything else was still in softback. I mean, we just got to the idea that that was just the way it went. Absolutely, it was. Absolutely, Derek. And this is one of the reasons why I have stayed with it. We've ended up with some phenomenal gaming crews, which is why when you read The Birth of the Wolf Pack is the characters from the gaming crew I was with. But at the back end of the book, you'll run into another group of characters. Okay, they are literally based on the players from my current gaming crew. Okay, where we've got an actual group of D&D players that are caught in the middle of a world going collapsing. So I mean, it's phenomenal, the connection, in my opinion, anyway. Oh, there you go. So you started a fraction before I did, and I don't run into many people world that have that. Yeah, I got to see you. We didn't play with chainmail a lot. Yeah, Philip goes. Honestly, the answer to that, Philip, in my opinion, is yes. It'll teach you conversational whatever language you're playing in. Okay, the kicker to it is that Dungeons and Dragons has its own vocabulary, even if you're learning Dungeons and Dragons in English. Okay, even if you started with Dungeons and Dragons in English, Dungeons and Dragons has a different linguistical pattern than standard English. Philip's just going, no, not Philip. World is going, I started as a miniatures wargamer, then D&D. Well, before I got heavily into D&D, I don't honestly remember which came first. But I got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons, Ogre, Gev, and Car Wars. Okay, which were all those, the little mini games. My brother introduced me, my older brother, he's passed away now, introduced me to all of those. And I mean, it's just been a phenomenal run. And am I looking at ending it anytime soon? No. As a matter of fact, I was just briefly mentioning somebody in the chat room here a couple of weeks back asked if I was going to build now what do they call it? Forget what the thing is called, but it's one of those interactive stories where you read a paragraph, gives you a number of choices, and you get to decide what you're doing. Okay, and I've already started writing one. Okay, and I came up with a couple of ideas on how to go about it. So we'll see what happens on that end. But am I doing that? The answer is yes. There's a lot of changes I'm looking at coming down the pike. But, Yeah, not surprising. It's funny. When I got into Dungeons and Dragons, I started in 76. In 1981, I joined the SCA, which was it just seemed to be an extension. Oh, it absolutely is, Philip, but thank you so much for that. My only regret is I didn't spend more time with him, over the years. But he was living in a different city and I do not travel well. You know, but we always had a good connection. I'm just trying to figure out if I ended up with anything of his that was really. I don't think I ended up with a whole lot of his, but that's okay. But no, do I still? I remember all of my family that have passed away in a really good way. Yep, I used to play. I played a English an English wool merchant by the name of Damien Falk. Right, and I mean it was great. I knew half the people only by their FCA names, but I ran with them from 1981 to 1984, and then life got in the way. You know, but it was a riot. That one I got into. My older brother actually didn't get into the SCA much. I think he went to one or two events, but I was always on the go with him for 3 years, which is really weird when you think about it because I don't travel well, not anymore anyway. But no, anytime you can, people talk about, oh, when they're talking to the kids, it's like you got a wonderful imagination now. It's time to grow up. I'm here to tell you, movies do not get created without imagination. Books don't get written without them. And I don't mean reference manuals. I mean your novels, your children's stories. Without an imagination, you don't get these things. Okay. And now what I'm looking at is figuring out how to tie it all together. This said, let me see here. Okay. What chapter is that in Birth of the Wolfpack? That's oh. Okay, now you're gonna have to bring me up to speed. Um yeah, I'm not sure what chat like how far you've read. But I will tell you if you can tell me what just happened, I don't mean give me the whole layout. But if you can tell me just what just happened, I can. Okay, chapter 7. Which number 1? Okay, chapter 5 was wheels for. I believe chapter 7 they are just coming down with the name of the Wolfpack. Okay, I'm pretty certain that's at the top of the tower, where they just went and rescued a few of the 3 people. What do we got? If you want to see a hilarious video of drunk metalheads starting a fight with SCA, uh-oh. Go watch the video, Prehistoric Dog. Yeah, I always get a kick out of it. Of course, if you know the SCA, it started off in California back in, I think, 63. Might be wrong. It might be a little later than that. But back in the 60s, a history teacher that was teaching a course on the medieval England at the time decided to liven things up a bit. Got his whole party, his whole class, to dress up in medieval style clothes and do court. Hold a medieval court and jousting contest, the whole 9 yards. They had so much fun with it that they turned around and it evolved to the point now that it's a global community. But no, if I recall correctly, I know chapter 5 is Wheels for All. chapter 7, they should be just putting together and they should be just getting the name of the wolf pack assigned to them. But can I say for absolute certainty? No. And yeah, I realized that I wrote the thing. But it's been a while. The real question there from that standpoint, the real question there, Derek, is whether or not you're actually enjoying the story. Which presumably you are. At least I sure hope so. I tell you, it's been a riot writing it. One of the biggest things that I have found is, I'm telling you, is right now, what do we got here? Oh, there we go. I'm writing, like, book 12 I'm working on right now, and it's coming together really quick. I wonder, ooh. Let us see. Book, not 10. Book 12. We are looking at three. I've got about 30 pages left to finish adding to it. Okay, to finish that particular storyline off. That particular book. But it's set up to so it really has no place to end per se. But again, for those of you that are listening in, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. That would be really appreciated. I have no idea. And yes, I realize exactly what you're doing there. See, we had a place here in town that what was called the Friendship Center opened the doors for us, and we'd have 40 or 50 gamers at 8 or 10 different games, all in the room at the same time. Okay, that was actually where I met the backbone of the crew that became the Wolfpack. So I gotta ask Eric. You said here you used to play, so please tell me you don't think you got too old to continue gaming. Because I'll tell you. Well, let's face it. I'm 60. I know I think World's a little bit older than I am. Okay, and I've gamed with a chap that was in his early 80s while he was gaming. He quit gaming when he died, which I think was a good reason to quit. It's like my older brother. He quit gaming at 64. Something to do with the fact he ended up dying. And for all I know, he probably is playing D&D on the other side. No, actually, it was a French community center. Oh, there are nice people from every walk of life. This is why I take a look at people and go, what your background is doesn't matter to me. Okay, doesn't matter if you've got a criminal background. Some of my best friends had criminal backgrounds. The guy that taught me to communicate with people, okay, was an ex-arm breaker from Satan's Choice, from a bike gang. Most of the gamers I gamed with had criminal records. Not all of them, but most of them. Okay, but they all took me as is. And it was just that simple. I've run into police that are absolutely gems to work with. Police that are absolute doorknobs. Firefighters that are great. I mean, you name the walk of life. Yeah, it was called Satan's Choice. It runs out of Edmonton. Now, he ran with them literally, it'll be 40 years ago now that he ran with them, or 40 or 45 years back. I don't even know if they're still up there. But the guy was an arm breaker for Satan's choice. Okay, way back in his younger years. When I met him, he had already left the bike gang, right? But he's the one that actually taught me how to communicate with people in a positive fashion, a positive, if you will, normal configuration. Okay, he took me as is and then taught me how to actually communicate with people, which was really, really weird. Honestly, in all fairness, Philip, I don't rightly know. Okay, I know he had already left when when I met him. But I'll tell you, you hear these horror stories about bikers that the place that their home is always a wreck. It's got grease stuff, it's got engine parts all over the place. This guy, you could have safely eaten off its floor. Okay, like the guy, he was phenomenal where it came to taking care of his stuff or of anybody else's stuff. And talk about open-minded. He absolutely had a rough side to him, but he was one of the most jovial people I'd ever run into, unless he got on his bad side, which fortunately I managed to avoid. He never did game. He always thought gaming was a little twisted, right? But he never looked down on people that did it. He just didn't understand it. So he did, and he told me that was literally why he didn't try, why he didn't game. He tried it and couldn't wrap his brain around it. Which, hey, not everybody can wrap their brain around gaming. Okay, but everybody can wrap their brain around being treated decently. So I mean, from my standpoint, it boiled down to this. He treated me decently. I treated him decently, and that was fine. That was all there was to it. We'd go for coffee, on a regular basis. Once he got me out of the door to actually spend any time away from gaming, because I was gaming 5 and 6 days a week, quite often 8 or 10 hours a day, while I was still working full time. So I'd go to work, I'd work my 8-hour shift, I'd go to the gaming house, and I'll tell you, the lady that built Tanya, when I got to her house, okay, I wouldn't say 2 words to her for the first 3 weeks. Heck, I barely said hello when I got there because, well, she was female and I was not one to talk to anybody at all. As you can tell, that's changed a little. But we are hitting the 2-hour mark here, guys. I really want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And I will be back again tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be back again tomorrow. Okay, until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.